how are you today? This is Shan from shanmerchant.com. I'm a relationship coach and an intimacy teacher, and I am shooting to you live from Ibiza today. Hello everyone. So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about being emotionally available in terms of dating and relationships. Before I start though, I'm really quite new to the land of YouTube, and if you like my stuff, it would really help me out if you subscribe to my channel. Most of my videos actually get shot on Facebook, so if you want to find me there under Shan Merchant, I shoot videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and I'm also going to do a couple of videos every week on YouTube. But anyway, if you like my stuff, then please help me out by subscribing to my channel. So anyway, let's go on to the topic for today. So I want to talk about being emotionally unavailable in relationships, and the reason I wanted to speak about this is a lot of women that I speak to online, that I read their posts on Facebook groups, and also that I work with, are quite often quite interested or wanting to know like how emotionally available their partner is. And what you also need to consider is actually how emotionally available are you. And so when I talk about being emotionally available, I'm talking about being accessible in a relationship. And to be accessible in relationship, it means that you are willing for the relationship to progress. You're willing to commit in a relationship, and you're willing to share deeper aspects of yourself. So for example, you're willing to share your emotions. And to be able to share your own emotions, you've actually got to have access to your emotions yourself, and some people don't. And why would this be? Why would you not have access to your own emotions? Well, basically it's a defense that you may have learned in childhood, because for whatever reason you might have learned in childhood that relationships were dangerous. So let's say perhaps your first experience of relationship, meaning mother or father, was unsafe. So you might have suffered from some neglect, some abuse. You might have had an emotionally absent mother or father, so that means that you don't learn through your first relationship how to emotionally connect with another human being, because as a baby we learn how to be in relationship primarily from mother, also from father, because father's our first experience of a man. Actually, he's our first love of a man, and so he really is a template for how to be with a man. But also mother's like so crucially important, because she teaches us about how to be in relationship. And so whether or not she is an access, whether or not she's able to access her own emotions and express her love, and that you feel seen and heard, and you experience empathy from her when you need something, she's sensitive and loving, so it's like through all of these really delicate interactions every day, you learn how to be in relationship. And so depending on what happened, you might have shut down. It might have been too painful, too overwhelming for you as a young child, as an infant, or as a baby. And so it's a defense mechanism. It's a way to survive in the world. And so you shut down, you cut off from your feelings, and then what happens is you grow into a teenager, into a young woman, into a mature woman, and you have lost that ability to connect to your own emotions. And what this is you've lost your relationship with yourself. You're disconnected from the deeper aspects of yourself. Now, this isn't a permanent state, because part of the healing work, the healing of the feminine, because the feminine is actually our connection to our feelings. So within us all, we have the inner feminine and the inner masculine, and there needs to be, like a alchemy between the two. Actually, we really need both. We can't be skewed to either end. And the feminine aspect of ourselves, so the man also has the inner feminine, and the woman has an inner feminine too. But if we talking about ourselves here as women in a biological female body, so connecting to the feminine is connecting to our receptive feeling state. And so if you let's say for example you are disconnected from your feelings, you would have a wounded feminine. And so that means that in relationship, it's likely that you're unavailable in relationship, because you're not able to access your own feelings yourself, because you got that part of yourself shut down at an early age as a defense. Because like the child, what she does is when the child experiences these really difficult, overwhelming, painful, shameful situations, she does what she can, and she has these really crude defenses actually, and shutting down parts of herself is a way to survive in the world. So we want to honor this. We want to honor this job, this amazing job that she did to survive what she did. But also we want to unfold more fully as women. And, we want to access our emotions, because we need, to really be emotionally available in a relationship, to be able to share these deeper aspects of yourself. You really need to be in connection with these. You need to have awareness of these. You need to be sensitive to how you're feeling at any given moment. The other thing, actually, that I'd like to say is, in terms of, thinking that relationships are dangerous, you can actually really go to the other end of the spectrum, and you can become fiercely independent, actually. So let's say whatever happened to you in your past, and I refer to your childhood all the time, because actually, this is where all of these behaviours and patterns and cycles all get laid down. And so, we never are looking to our childhood really to lay blame. Even though there might be some anger to express, what we're doing is we're looking for understanding, we're looking for insights so that you can heal yourself. And, so what can happen in response to this early environment, which perhaps wasn't safe, relationships were dangerous, you can almost withdraw into yourself and become fiercely independent. And it can be like, I don't need anyone. And, what happens is when this happens to you in childhood, and you grow up to be a woman in relationship, and you become fiercely independent, then again it's very difficult for you to be fully emotionally available in relationship, because it's too scary. It's so scary for you to be so close, because what that's going to do is it's going to threaten your independence, and your independence is the way that you've kept yourself safe. And so that can be really, really scary for many women. And, I actually was working with a client recently, and, she didn't even realize this. She didn't even realize that she was fiercely independent. And, what can often happen is that, you can really dive into your career, actually, because you can say, well, I don't need anyone, and maybe even go as far as saying relationships don't work for me. But actually, there's something much deeper at play. There's more of an intimacy issue. And so let's say you are, working on yourself, and you're thinking, okay, actually, I got too much into my masculine. I'm going to go back into my feminine, and I'm going to lean back, and I'm going to lean back into my feminine. But what you're not addressing there is you're not addressing the deeper issue, which actually, it might feel like you're more in your masculine, but actually what it is it's a defense. Because you learned that relationships were scary, and you became overly independent in relationship, and you decided that you didn't need that. You didn't need to be, you don't need anyone. You don't need anyone to feel happy. You don't need anyone to feel safe. And actually, it's quite an isolated place. And to really be in relationship, then you have to be vulnerable. You have to risk things. You have to rely on the other person sometimes, and you actually become mutually interdependent. You have to depend. It's actually part of a relationship. A healthy relationship is learning to depend on the other person. And for these types of people that were overly independent, this can be absolutely terrifying. The other thing actually that I wanted to say, and I actually got this inspiration from one of my current clients today, because to shoot this video, because we were talking about chemistry, and she was saying to me that, she just isn't feeling any chemistry with the dates that she's going on at the moment. And, I commented on the fact that, she hasn't historically left a lot of time in between relationship breakups. And so it's very important actually that, if you want to be emotionally available in your new relationship, that you really honor the ending of your last relationship, and you give yourself time to process the feelings at the end of the relationship. And actually she came back to me and she said, well, I haven't been in a relationship for some time. But she hadn't been in a relationship for some time, but she'd still been emotionally invested in her last partner for over a year actually. And so even though she wasn't in a relationship, she still wasn't available, because she hadn't been able to process her feelings and move on from her ex. So it's really, really important in terms of your emotional health that you give yourself time to process an ending, give yourself time to reflect on things, time to let things go, time to grieve, actually, to allow those feelings to flow through. And then the other thing about another point that I want to bring up, or another example for you actually, is another reason you might be sorry, I'm not getting my words out today, you might be emotionally unavailable in a relationship is because you're still hooked on an old story. You might be telling yourself an old story. And I want to use an example here of 2 clients that I have. And when I first met them, they had been single, one for about 5 years and one for about 10 years. And there were issues for them both around father, so around their dads, and both their dads had been absent in various ways through their childhood, and so there'd been a really significant loss for them, a deep both of these women had grown up with a deep longing to have that connection with father, and he actually had not been available. In both cases their father had been physically absent. And then what happened is they spent their, part of them that longed for that connection with father still searched for him. And so, the child searched in other places. So, it was like having affairs with their boss, actually, long affairs with their boss, who were both married. Actually, both these men were married. So that, in fact, it's quite interesting because both of these women had very similar stories, and what they didn't realize is that they weren't emotionally available to be in a relationship because they were still so caught in this old wounding of really longing for a relationship with their father, and then looking for father in all their in all their current relationships, and not finding many men attractive, but finding some older men who actually held the qualities of good father for them, the protector, the secure one, that someone that they felt really safe with. And this was in both circumstances it was an older man, but both the men that they picked were not available, actually, because both of them were married, and so they ended up having an affair, and they ended up being both caught in the situation. And what they didn't realize is that they weren't actually free to choose. They weren't free to choose someone who was available because they were so caught in their father's story. They were so starved with their father hunger that they were constantly looking for someone who was not their father to fill this hole. And of course this required deep work, and it's ongoing work to really work with those deep and very young feelings of longing for father, so that they can be released as women. And once you release yourself from these old feelings, then you're released to choose in the current day. And it's about choosing from from the woman. Actually, it's choosing from the woman that wants to have an adult relationship. So it's actually entering into a relationship that's adult, not child longing adult. So I hope you found this helpful. That was a couple of examples actually about, to question you, or not actually to question you, but just to ask you to reflect. So, it's not only your partner that, both of you want to be emotionally available in a relationship. To have a healthy relationship, we need both to be emotionally available. And so, my question is for you is to reflect, how available are you? So I will say goodbye for now, and I hope you found this useful, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.